Hello everyone, my name is Rafael Alexandrian. I'm Dubsado's CFO, and today's lesson is going to be about recording expenses in Dubsado.
Hello everyone, my name is Rafael Alexandrian. I am the CFO at Dubsado, and in today's lesson we're going to be talking about using Dubsado to record expenses. We're going to talk about why that's important, how it could be useful, and how to do it. We're also going to go through an example that's going to kind of show the power of recording your expenses in Dubsado and having Dubsado be your one-stop platform for your income and your expenses. Let's get started. So the first thing I want to cover is why is it important to take expenses into account? Expenses along with your revenue will help you to better understand your business's profitability, and it'll also help you to have a snapshot of your business in one place if you choose to use Dubsado as the platform where you want to record your expenses as well. I think one of the most common things we see, especially with small businesses, is an emphasis on revenue. And revenue is very important. Revenue, it's one of the most sought out figures that we look at as business owners because it tells us how much business we're generating from our customers. But if we only look at revenue or income, then we're really not seeing the full picture because revenue does not take into account profitability, and it also doesn't take into account scalability. It doesn't really tell you as a business owner which of your products or services are most beneficial to your bottom line. And it doesn't inform you on how you can become more efficient, how you can improve your profitability, how you can improve your margins. So if you just look at revenue or if you just look at income, you're really only looking at one piece of your business. So the purpose of this presentation really is to show you how you can have see your entire business as a snapshot all in one place using Dubsado as that mechanism. So we're going to go through an illustration of a small business owner, and we're going to kind of walk through how her business is different if she only looks at it in terms of her income as opposed to as if she looks at it as a whole, taking into account her expenses. So let's start with Jen's photography studio. So Jen offers photography services to her clients. She recently signed a contract to offer her services at an upcoming wedding, which is in a remote location. So she typically charges $300 per hour, and based on the time and the requirements for this particular project, she estimated that she would need 8 hours of billable time. So she took 300, she multiplied it by 8 hours, she got to $2,400 for this project. She spoke to the client, she gave them her bid, they reviewed it with her, and they eventually accepted it. They paid her the full $2,400 and, in advance to the wedding. So Jen recorded this invoice in her Dubsado account. She created a category for photography services, and she recorded the $2,400 that she invoiced and that she received from the client. In Jen's mind, this was this project was a hit. She made $2,400, and she made a great relationship with the client, and she's hoping that they'll refer more people to her in the future, and she'll continue to grow her business. After taking this advanced Dubsado course, though, Jen decided to go back into her Dubsado account and record any expenses that she had incurred in connection with this project. She started going through her bank statements, and she picked out 3 expenses which were directly related to this project. The first one is for professional services. Since Jen is a sole proprietor, she works alone, she sometimes contracts with her friend Tracy for these types of projects, especially 8-hour-long projects where she needs a helping hand. So she paid Tracy $800 to help her for the day. So that's one expense that she incurred. A second expense that she incurred was renting some equipment. She needed some additional props and other equipment to kind of meet the customer's needs. So she saw an invoice for $500 for renting equipment. The third expense that she incurred was transportation. So Jen's car was in the shop on wedding day, and she needed to get a rental car to get to the remote location. So she saw a charge for $300 for renting a car for the day. So Jen went back into her Dubsado account and she recorded these expenses. She recorded paying her friend Tracy under professional services. She recorded the rental equipment under rental equipment, and she recorded the car rental under transportation. So now that she's recorded her expenses in Dubsado, she sees that even though she made $2,400 from the client, she incurred $1,600 of expenses to fulfill this project. So she really only made $800. Jen is a little bummed out that she didn't realize all those expenses added up so much and that she only really made $800 from the project. But the good thing is that she still broke a profit. And in the future, she knows that, when she's quoting her clients, her fees, she really needs to look at her expenses as well. She needs to take into account, is she going to be hiring an assistant? Is she going to be renting equipment? Is she going to need transportation to get to the wedding site or whatever, or whichever type of site it is, depending on where the photography is taking place? So what I want to go over is how you can also enter your expenses in Dubsado. It's really simple, but I think it's a really powerful tool. I think it needs to be done in order for you to really see your business in one place. So if you do choose to use Dubsado as your snapshot place for your business, what you would first do is you would go to your Dubsado dashboard, and then you would go to the reporting button. It's highlighted here in 1. Then you would click on transactions. And then once you click on transactions, there's a button at the top on the green ribbon that says expense plus. So that's where you would go to add expenses. If this is your first time adding expenses in Dubsado, you probably don't have preset categories. In Jen's case, she had to create a category for professional services. She created a category for rental equipment, and she created a category for transportation. So after you click the Expense Plus button, you'll see this screen, and you'll enter the amount of the expense, the payment method, and the payment date. You can also enter a description so that if you ever want to go back to it, you can kind of quickly recall what type of expense this was. And under the section for category, there's a button that says New Category. So once you click New Category, you're able to create a new category. So you would first enter the name of the new category, and then you would select what type of expense it is. So you have 3 different types of expenses. The first type of expense is cost of goods. If you're in the business of selling tangible products, like let's say you sell hats or you sell t-shirts or you sell any tangible physical product, any of the costs that go into creating that product would be under cost of goods. If you're in the service industry, you would not have a cost of goods unless you're selling tangible products. So you would have operating expenses or non-operating expenses. Operating expenses are essentially all ordinary and necessary expenses that you incur to run a business. In contrast, non-operating expenses would be one-time, one-off, non-recurring expenses that you may incur. In Jen's case, professional services or marketing, these are going to be operating expenses. They're going to be regular, recurring, ordinary, and necessary expenses that she's going to incur to grow her business. So she would select operating expenses, then she would press create, and then she would press add. And that's it. That's how you can add an expense to Dubsado. In the future, if you incur additional expenses like marketing expenses, you won't need to create a new category since the category will be there already. But if it's your first time going through this process, of entering expenses, then you won't have the pre-filled list of categories, and you'll need to create new categories as you go. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you use, if it makes sense for your business, I hope you use this feature in Dubsado. It's going to really help you to see your full business in one place as opposed to just seeing your income or your revenue. Thank you for watching.